Hey guys, so we are going to go ahead and get started on a practice of how to put documents into S3 bucket. S3 bucket, S3 stands for Simple Storage Service, which is one of the basic services within AWS. And if you kind of think of a storage bucket like a file folder, S3 like a file folder on your computer, a bucket is similar to a folder where, and then you have individual files like images files, some text files, audio files, whatever in the folder, or in S3, it's in the bucket. Okay. So the way we access this is AWS Educate. Everybody has it. My interface is going to look different because I'm the teacher and I don't have student view. So you would click go to classroom. Go ahead and get out of this so we can start from the beginning. Go to classroom. Yeah, we continue on that. Okay. And again, my interface is probably going to look different than yours. You would go to your classes and you would find the database to the cloud. And then you should see something that looks like this. So I'm hopeful our $50 is going to last for the entire course, 8 weeks. If not, we'll just create another class or something. But we'll see. And let's go ahead and click on AWS Console. And this is going to take you to the AWS console. So on the top right hand corner, you should see Vogue Start, Soft, User, yada yada. This is using AWS Educate resources, which is $50 and the time that I had there. Now, you may need to create an actual AWS account, like using your own credit card information. I've had students who use like the Venmo app or Cash app and the cards that are associated with it. Whatever you need to do, we'll try to do as much as we can without we'll try to do as much as we can utilizing AWS Educate, but I do know there are a few services that just doesn't work within AWS Educate. So we'll try to make that not necessarily those services that are not available in AWS Educate. We'll try to use those as little as possible, but just be aware that may happen. Okay, so we are in AWS Management Console. And the best way to figure the console out is to explore. I don't really have any quick solutions to you on that one. You can see recently visited services, and then you can see all services that are within AWS. And that's all of that. It's in categories and such. My usual method, if I know what I'm looking for, is just typing it in. And what we're going to be looking for is S3. Okay, so you'll see little things like this pop up. Looks like re-enable the previous version of while we continue. Okay, so it looks like they're playing with the user experience on here. We're just going to leave it to what they put us to. But do know it changes like on random frequently, almost annoying me so basis. So this is the S3 interface. On the left-hand side, you can see there's buckets, there's batch operations, and I don't know how to do all this stuff. We're just going to stick with buckets. So we're going to click create a bucket. And a bucket has to be a unique name, like around the world unique, because it's using DNS compliant, which we'll go into maybe later on about S3. It's, how URLs have to be unique, for around the world. Domain names have to be unique. Same thing with buckets. It has to be unique. So that's kind of the frustrating part of it, trying to come up with something unique. Okay, so let's do data. Okay, base 2. And wow, let's see if that takes. It looks like it is, which is awesome. Your regions should always be, for AWS Educate purposes, should always be North Virginia, US East. If you're not using AWS Educate, there are some regions in Ohio, but for this particular, for AWS Educate, everything has to be in Northern Virginia. And don't worry about that. Click next. And we're not going to focus on that. that's just kind of getting down into the weeds of it, and I don't want us going into the weeds of it. So we're going to then click next, and we are going to click next, and we are going to click create bucket. So I have a bucket named database 2 Pentwell. And again, remember, a bucket is like a file folder. So you know how you have file folders in your computer? A bucket is more or less a file folder. So we're going to go ahead and add some content into our bucket. So let's go in and click on the bucket, database 2 Pentwell. I can upload it, add files. You guys are all familiar with this kind of process here. Let's see what I have here. Let's do a rug. It's something I was working on Sumerian. So I got a rug in here, and I'm going to hit up or hit next and leave all that stuff at default. Next. This is again getting in the weeds of S3. If you're ever going to study for your certification, this is something to know. It's not to know for right now. Next and upload. Okay, hide that. And you can see on the bottom it says in progress, success, and error. So mine did it really quick, and it's one success. But if it was going to take a while, be in progress or an error message if it did not work. So let's click on that, and it comes up with information. The overview is that it's a rug. The JPEG is the name of the file. Some other information, which is kind of outside the realm of what we need to know right now. And let's go ahead and click on this object URL and look at the object URL. It's HTTPS database 2 Pentwell, which was the name of the bucket. S3, because that's a service that we're using within AWS, Amazon AWS, .com/rug JPEG. Okay, but if I click on that URL, I'm going to go ahead and open up in a new tab. It should come up with that, and it does. Good. That's a good thing. By default, everything within S3 is private. You cannot, it's not accessible by the public. You have to turn on the permissions. And that's just, it's a security measure. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And the way you turn on permissions, you go to, no, it's not properties. We're going to go to permissions. And where it says block all public access. Now, this is not always the go-to, depending on what your content is, but for us, for our purposes here, this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to click where it says block all public access. We want to be able to everybody to see it. So we would click edit, uncheck. You know, depending on the situation, maybe you might need to check some of these and uncheck. But for this scenario right here, we're going to go ahead and click uncheck and hit save. And we're going to type in confirm, and then we're going to confirm it. Okay. And let's see if this works. And I will admit, like, you know, this usually takes me a couple of times if it's been a while since I've done it, because I always miss a step. So let's go ahead and see if this works. And actually, I still got the tab open. I just refresh it. Nope, didn't work. Okay, I missed a step. I think this is the step actions. Let's go ahead and close this. So we got the reg selected. We're still in database 2 Pentwell. Get the reg selected, actions, make public, and make public. And hit refresh. There it is. Okay. So that was the process on making a file, uploading a file into a bucket, and making it accessible to the public. So now we're going to work on a web page. So I'm going to pause this while I'll compile a web page. Okay, I'm back. So now we are still in our bucket, database 2 Pentwell, and we can upload multiple things in our bucket. Just like we can have multiple files into a folder, we can have multiple items, objects, they're called objects, into our bucket. So we're going to click upload and check that. Upload, add files, and what was it? There we go. So I just created something from a list that I did earlier. Go through the whole process as before. Okay. And if I click on here, actually, let me go back. If I check that, this thing pops up on the right-hand side again. But another way you can look at that information and maybe more is by clicking on that, and it'll take you to some information on the actual object, which in this case is an HTML file that we uploaded. Okay. And so we got that overview of it, and we got properties, permissions, select from, stuff. No, we're not going to go over all of this stuff again because it's so much, and we just kind of want to make sure we have an area of focus on what we're doing here. So the owner is some gibberish that AWS has in there. Was last modified, e-tag, standard storage class. None of that's all relevant that's all good information to know, but not relevant for us. So, okay, so here's the object URL. So I'm going to open that, open up in a new tab, and it should not work. Good. Okay. So, similar as we did before, there was something we had to do to make it public. So let's go ahead and make it public. And it looks like it worked on that. So let's refresh this and see if this worked. And it did. Okay. It was just like basically a simple list of items. So that's good. So we know that it's public. And this is fine. I mean, you can share this. Like if I copy this and open up in incognito mode. This is a valid URL. Okay, you can share it wherever. But it's not a website, right? It is not a website. But what you can do is, let's go ahead and go back to database 2. So we got a rug and we got S3 bucket HTML. Make that that way. We can go to management, no, properties. Yep, properties. And you see where it says static website hosting. Let's learn more. It's going to take me another page. I don't want to read that. It's just going to do it. Go to static website hosting. Let's go ahead and click on that. And we are going to see how it's got an endpoint. It's a URL, HTTP, database to Penla, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And we are going to use this bucket to host a website. So I'm going to name this index.html, and it's not going to work. And we're just going to go through the process of it. Because typically you should name your home page of a website index.html. That's best practices. And we can do some other stuff if we wanted to, like if there's an error page, like you know how GitHub has this, AutoCAD on the 404 error page. We could direct it to that if something don't work, but we're not doing that. Anything else that we could have done, there's other options here, but we're not doing that. We're going to click Save. Okay, so you can see it's got a little purple checkbox. It's check mark. It's bucket is hosting it. Now let's go ahead and open that back up, and okay, it's not working. The reason it's not working is because it's looking for an index.html. And if you look here, my name of my file is S3 space bucket. Very bad formatting, but that's it. So the frustrating part about S3, S3 is the fact you can't really update it. Like it's just like you can't like right click, can you? Oh, you can. This must be different. Okay, my bad. Learned something here. You used to be able to. Okay. So I said, and you're going to see me learn. You just saw me learn something. I didn't realize you could change it in there. So, and now it works. So I refreshed it, and now it works. Let's go ahead and try that again, just to make sure I didn't open up something I didn't want to. Click on it. Takes me to URL, and it works. So this is actually a website. So it opened up in the same tab. I didn't want to do that. Try this again. Okay. What am I looking for? Where is it? Okay. I was down at a deeper level than I wanted to be. I was wanting to be at the database 2 pinwheel level to look for this. I was looking for the static website hosting because we're using this bucket as a hosting. And same thing here. If I wanted to, for whatever the initial page to go to rug.jpg, again, it can be just whatever particular reasons that you have. I can just change those to rug.jpg and hit save. And it takes me to that. So whatever I put in here is the index document. Ideally, it should be named index. That's just best practices. But you can put whatever in here, and this URL is going to take it to whatever file you have in there. So let's say I named something like Reg Doctor and hit save because I don't have a file name Reg Doctor. Okay, there we go. What do I do? Okay, it doesn't exist. There's no file name Rug Doctor in there. But if I go back to Rug and hit save, and just should be able to. I hit refresh. Sometimes it takes a second. There you go. Okay. So, and the way this works is very similar, if not the exact same, as any kind of uploading files into a folder on your computer or into GitHub. Very similar in concept. And then you can use this URL. So what you could do is you just give that URL to, you're hosting a static website from it. So that is like an introduction into S3. You'll get better with it. You'll get more familiar with it. But you'll still probably forget little things like I continue to do, even, once you get practice with it, because that's just the nature of the beast and it changes. So that was an introduction onto S3. And we are actually the next video is going to be actually creating a website and hosting it on S3. What we did here was just uploaded a couple individual files into S3 to get you acclimated and have more practice with it. But for our next lab, I do believe you're going to have to use like a regular AWS account and not AWS Educate because of the fact you're going to be using Route 53 and some of the other services within AWS. So